line ho, uyu line lelo mwana mene, mwana wanzeru, line ho,
line ho, uyu line lelo mwana mene, mwana wanzeru, ukacha mama wa amatengazaje kusesa bakomo pamaivaje
ukacha mama
early morning
amatengazaje
kusesa bakomo pamaivaje
magolo wali amuya mikila
akuti line lelo mwana mene mwana wanzeru
magolo wali amuya mikila
akuti line lelo mwana mene mwana wanzeru line ho uyu line lelo mwana mene mwana wanzeru
line
ho uyu line lelo mwana mene mwana wanzeru
agire gogo wana madingo namuya mikila kuti na madingo mwana mene mwana wanzeru agire gogo wana madingo namuya mikila
mukuti na madingo mwana mene
mwana wanzeru
simuku na mako
tawizina
ni malota ine bambo wanga tandisi enda
salandeka tawizina
mwe ni malota ine bambo wanga tamwali enda
salandeka gondo mama gondo une mama mwe gondo mama chalamanda
tafera mwenda we gondo mama gondo une mama mwe gondo mama chalamanda utafera mwenda we shipping and logistics. We export household items lóríṣiríṣi. Personal effect, clothing, food and stuffs. Láti Naija wọ̀lú America. Journalic here Chicago, shipping and logistics, bàbá ni. Oúnjẹ láti Áfíríkà lóríṣiríṣi. Dry meat, dry fish, báwo lẹ ṣe fẹ́ sí? We export goods láti America wọ Naija. Ìròyìn ò tá fojú bẹ̀yìn ta America. Ẹ̀yin ti New York, ẹ̀yin ti New Jersey. Ẹ kàn sí Journalic lórí email address. Nika Coca 27 àti Agutaston Journalic Logistics bàbá ni.
Bó ṣe máa jẹ́ nìyẹn, ẹ̀yin ti New Jersey ẹ kàn sí wa ní Prince Street, Newark, New Jersey, USA tàbí kẹ́pẹ́ wá sórí +19 08 20 55 863 nílùú Èkó ń bí. Àdírẹ́sì wa ní Number 20 Ekoro Road, Old Ọ̀tà Road, Abúlé Ẹ̀gbá, Lagos. Ẹ pè Jùmọ̀kẹ́ sórí +234 813 099 0915 tàbí Múyìwá sórí +234 814 659 1874 at Journalic. Ọ̀gá nìkan láwùjọ òkúta.
Right. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. My own name is Samuel Oludare Yorokon, and you are right on to All Wide Media Scotland. Today, obviously, we've told you, we've prepared some things for you, and you'll be having those things today. So please do stay on with me. I've got Alagba Femi Odedeji right on here. He will be talking to us. But before then, just hold on, I will be right back.
Ani ó padà táyé ṣe o. Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o? Tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé? Ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. Àgbà ìlú máa ṣòro bí èwe. Tani ó padà táyé ṣe o. Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o? Tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé? Ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. Àgbà ìlú máa ṣòro bí èwe. Tani ó padà táyé ṣe o. Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o? Tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé? Ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. Àgbà ìlú máa ṣòro bí èwe.
Right, thank you. We're just trying to resolve some couple of issues right around the studio here. But we'll kick off on and we'll leave that for our technical team to resolve. So, as we've known before, for those that have been following us on our Facebook page, Alagba Femi Odedeji is right on in the studio with us, and I'll be bringing him straight right on. You are most welcome to the program today, sir.
Thank you. Ẹ kú lé o. Ẹ kú Sunday. Ẹ kú kí ni weekend ìsinmi ṣá.
A kú òpin ọ̀sẹ̀.
A kú ọ̀sẹ̀.
Thank you very much, sir. Ó dà pé ní òní, ó dà pé a fi àwọn kíní ọ̀hún a fi la ara wọn nínú. Bàbá ṣe sọ òyìnbó, bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni a ṣe sọ Yorùbá. Pàápàá nítorí àwọn ènìyàn wa àti torí àwọn nǹkan tí a fẹ́ sọ náà. Ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì òun náà ni ẹ máa ń wà pẹ̀lú wa. A sì ti mọ̀ pé láàrin ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì ọ̀hún ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan náà ni ó máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n kí a tó tẹsẹ̀ bọ àwọn nǹkan tí a fẹ́ sọ lára àwọn nǹkan tí ó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ tí a máa fẹ́ kí ẹ bá wa dá sí. Ní ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì tí ẹ wá sẹ́yìn, ẹni òní lónìí jẹ́ o pé nígbà tí ẹ bá fi yọjú sí wa, rẹ́rí ó ti run pé n tí àwọn ènìyàn tí wọ́n ń fojú dè pé a ti ń gbọ́ láti ọdún tó kọjá, Yoruba Referendum Committee, ẹ bá wa ṣe kíní kan báyìí, ẹ bá wa bu ọwọ́ lu kíní kan báyìí. Àwọn èèyàn sì ń bu ọwọ́ lù náà, ó ti lé ní ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́wàá. Wọ́n wá wò pé ìgbésẹ̀ wo ló tún kù tí ẹgbẹ́ yìí tí wọ́n fẹ́ gbé. Ẹ ṣèlérí fún wa ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá wípé tó bá dòní o wípé kò ní kọjá òní tí ẹ fi jẹ́ ká mọ ìgbésẹ̀ èyí tí ẹgbẹ́ tí wọ́n ṣetán láti gbé tàbí tí wọ́n tó ti gbé, tí ó jẹ́ pé àwọn èèyàn nítorí ẹ̀sọ́ náà ẹ ní ìgbésẹ̀ tẹ́ ń sọ yìí ohun tí àwọn èèyàn náà lè dá sí ni. So kí n tó wá fún yín ní ààyè láti sọ ohun tí ìgbésẹ̀ ọ̀hún jẹ́, ẹ bá mi kí àwọn aráalé kí ó má débi àwọn Yorùbá tí wọ́n ní ewúrẹ́ wọlé tí ò kágò, ó di múmú so, àgùntàn wọlé tí ò dágbò, ó di múmú so, ọmọ aráyé ò ní mú wa so. Ṣùgbọ́n kí àwọn èèyàn wa kó lè mọ̀ pé èèyàn yìí ò ní àwọn, ẹ bá mi kí àwọn èèyàn wa nílé láṣẹ tó máa bá ọ̀rọ̀ nípa tí à ń sọ ká tó máa bá lọ.
Okay. Thanks. Ẹ ṣé tẹ́ fún mi ní opportunity yìí láti kí àwọn èèyàn wa in particular. Màá sáré sọ ní òyìnbó, màá wá sáré summarize ní Yorùbá wípé all those who have been following us, liking us, sharing what we are doing, listening to us every time at their own convenience, and making suggestions and talking to us about it, and spending their time to follow what we are doing, which also shows their own commitment to the emancipation of their own people. So we thank you, and we thank God for giving us the opportunity to be able to explain ourselves to the generality of the people. And we also thank God for you also for sparing your lives in order to be part of making history, because we consider this, whether we see it with our physical eyes or not, it is part of history making. Because even in the secular world, they say that 1,000 steps starts with a first step, sort of something along that line. Lọ́rọ̀ kan nǹkan tí mo fi sọ ní pé a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run fún gbogbo oore tọ́lọ́run ṣe fún wa, tọ́lọ́run fún wa ní ààyè àti àsìkò àti ìrọ̀rùn, torí téèyàn ò bá nírọ̀rùn kò ní ráyè gbójúmọ́ nǹkan míì. Báwọn Yorùbá ṣe ń sọ, wọ́n ní ọ̀dọ̀ yẹn ní kíní díẹ̀ pé ebi ò kí ń wọnú kọ́rọ̀ míì wọ̀, téèyàn bá fi gbogbo táìmù ẹ̀ pàtẹ ebi kò ní rọ́rọ̀ míì ṣe nǹkan míì. So a dúpẹ́ pé despite gbogbo nǹkan tó wà nílẹ̀, Ọlọ́run fún wa láàyè láti máa ṣe nǹkan tá à ń ṣe yìí. Ọlọ́run fún ẹ̀yin náà ní ààyè láti lè máa gbọ́ wa. Even tẹ́ bá gbọ́ wa ní ìsìn, bóyá ìgbà tẹ́ bá ráyè ẹ lè wà lẹ́nu iṣẹ́ àbí ẹ lè máa wà níbì kan. Ọlọ́run á fún yín láàyè láti sọ pé okay, jẹ́ kí n tiẹ̀ gbọ́ nǹkan táwọn ará bí yìí ń sọ, bóyá nǹkan wà tí mo lè ṣe ń pa ẹ̀. So ọpẹ́ ni fọ́lọ́run fún gbogbo ẹ̀. Ọpẹ́ dẹ̀ ni fún àwọn tó ń gbọ́ wa. Ọpẹ́ ni fún àwa tá à ń ṣe. Ọpẹ́ ni fún gbogbo nǹkan tá à ń ṣe. Ọlọ́run á dẹ̀ fi ìbùkún sí gbogbo nǹkan tá à ń ṣe, both on this issue and in our own personal lives. And bí mo ṣe sọ ní òyìnbó lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn pé a lè máa fojú rí ní ìsìn pé nǹkan tá à ń fojú wa rí, ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ní àṣà máa gbígbésẹ̀ kan. Èyí tó ṣe kinní jù bẹ́ẹ̀, wọ́n ní ó pẹ́ títí ẹlẹ́dẹ̀ àdọ́yọ̀. Even táriwo ẹ̀ bá pọ̀, a máa débẹ̀. Kì í ṣe àwa Yorùbá nìkan, torí n tá à ń ṣe, what we are doing is to set a template for Africa and for Black people. So it's not just about Yoruba alone. It is about Black people all over the world. And we thank God for our pioneers. Ṣé January la wà yìí, tó bá máa di 2 weeks time, bọ́ sí a week's time, bọ́ sí February 1 l'Amẹ́ríkà, ọ̀gbẹ́ni kan wà tó ń pè ní Carter G. Woodson, èèyàn dúdú ni, ọmọ ẹrú ni, àwọn parents ẹrú ni wọ́n, they were slaves, his parents were slaves, but he went ahead. Òun ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ gbogbo nǹkan tá a mọ̀ ní Black History Month lénìí, nítorí ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣèwádìí. He did a lot of research about who Black people are and all that, and the slavery and all that. So ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ nǹkan tó ń pè ní Negro History Week nígbà ayé tiẹ̀ kó tó di kó kú. So Negro History Week tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ yẹn ló di Black History Month tí everybody ń celebrate lénìí. Òun ló di pé olúkálùkù àwọn dúdú l'Amẹ́ríkà tó bá dìgbà Christmas, wọ́n á ní wọ́n ṣe Kwanzaa, wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe. So ẹ má jẹ́ ká fojú tẹ́ńbẹ́lú nǹkan tá à ń ṣe. I believe pé it's a historical or history making effort, and God will bless all our efforts. Thank you very much.
Àmì ẹ̀kọ́ o, ẹ ṣeun lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. You mentioned just now that what the Yoruba Referendum Committee is doing is not just for Yoruba.
Yes.
And it's not just for Nigeria,
Yes.
but for the entire African continent.
Yes.
And we know that for the past over 40 or 50 years, the African continent have sort of been struggling, although most of the countries on their own,
Yeah.
to chart a path for the liberation of the African people in general. And that has, I mean, we had some bit of success in some areas. Uh, in some, those successes were short-lived, and in some areas it failed totally. What you are bringing forward as a group, and in relation to Africa, how does it connect?
Okay. The connection is very simple. If you look at the history of Africa since independence, okay, immediately after independence, we had three broad categories of African countries. One led by Nkrumah, who said which one is correct. The colonial boundaries are artificial, and we should get rid of it and have one African government, which is summarized as Pan-Africanism. On the other hand, you had and they call themselves the Casablanca group, because the countries that are involved were Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, and all the rest. And then you have the Monrovia group, which comprises Nigeria and some other, countries and stuff, who are saying, no, we should retain the boundaries and everything, we can work everything out. And I think the third one is Casablanca, Monrovia, and whoever. Anyway, the three of them came together to now form the Organization for African Unity, which is now known as the African Union. Okay, that's the general background. Now, in all those instances, you will discover that the common thread among all of them is the sustenance of the colonial boundaries. So while Nkrumah was saying they are artificial and they should be gotten rid of, he had to sustain the colonial boundaries of Ghana, by which he had the sovereignty, that is Ghana's sovereignty, to launch into supporting the various African anti-colonial liberation movements. So they had the All African People's Conference in Accra in 1958. He was a very big supporter of the South African liberation movements, the liberation movements of Angola, Guinea, the Portuguese colonies. And even when France removed everything from Guinea, when Guinea held a referendum to say they don't want to be part of the French Empire, France removed everything they had in Guinea, including light bulbs. All the light bulbs, so they removed everything. They say, okay, if we put you in darkness, we'll see where you want to go. So Ghana, it was Ghana's Nkrumah that supplied most of the things that were removed. So you will discover that even while challenging the colonial boundaries, correctly so, that they were artificial, he still had to sustain it. And in the process of sustaining it, he had to institute policies that will suppress the opposition inside Ghana itself. So he came up with the Public Order Act, where they threw people opposition into detention and all kinds of stuff like that. That's on his part. On the Monrovia part, that was saying, let us retain the colonial boundaries, we will see that Nigeria is a good example, that inside those boundaries, you will find one nationality or the other that wants to suppress the rest. And that is what is happening in Nigeria, where, when people are now saying Fulani, 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 this and Fulani, that, the British gave them the authority by the 1952 census by saying that they are more than everyone else, and therefore they have more people in the parliament. If you look at Congo, now Zaire, they call themselves Congo Democratic. I don't see what is democratic about it, but they call it Congo Democratic Republic. The fighting that had been going on, in 1962 or 63, there was a province in Congo called Katanga. And then, they said they don't want to be part of that Congo Republic, and they declared secession and they fought them and crushed them. Obasanjo, our own Obasanjo, was part of the forces that went to crush them. And I think Ironsi also in the Congo. Okay, so they went to the Congo to fight them and all that. So it's not surprising that they fought the Biafrans in Nigeria. Anyway, and if you look at what happened in Rwanda, everyone recognize, even if we forget about every other thing, we can't forget about Rwanda. And what was Rwanda? It was a conflict of nationalities, where one tried to suppress the other and they fought, and we saw the results. So in each of these Africa, and look at what is happening in Ethiopia today, you will see that even though the Tigrayan people, the Tigrayan forces, were the leading forces that overthrew the military and they established their own dictatorship at that time. But they created a sort of federal system where each of the nationalities was able to express themselves until this guy came to power and tried to suppress it. And that's what has led to the war. So between the extremes, there is no middle, because both extremes are pursuing the same thing, that is sustaining the colonial boundaries. And in each of these colonial boundaries, you have, despite the fact that one is saying that it is artificial, the other is saying, yeah, let us retain it like that, that within them, there was a conflict of nationalities. So whether it is the Casablanca or the Monrovia or the Libreville faction is the third one, which I forgot earlier. Casablanca, Monrovia, and Libreville. Okay, so you find that all of them have something in common, which is the sustenance of the colonial boundaries via the suppression of the nationalities in each of the countries. And in each of the countries, or many of the countries, have the same nationalities split. Like in Nigeria, West Africa, for example, you have the Yoruba in Nigeria, in Benin Republic, in Togo, in Ghana. I'm talking about indigenous to the place, so not just people who migrated, that were part of the entire Yoruba landscape. So they were split into 4 countries. And I think I mentioned it before. I was in Abidjan one time, and I got lost somewhere in the city. I didn't know where I was going. And I was looking, I can't speak French up till now. So I was, okay, who am I going to ask for direction? So I saw one guy with, the Yoruba marks on his face. So I just went to him. I said, bon, what. He said, yeah, come to my store, come to my store. So I went to his store and he gave me all the direction and entertained. Okay, so if not for the marks on his face, I wouldn't probably have recognized him as a Yoruba man. But what I want to point out is the fact that because of the language, I was able to resolve my issues. So you find many nationalities spread across countries like that, that ordinarily, and we see it happening in Benin Republic, ordinarily, they now see themselves as citizens of those countries rather than members of the nationality. And that is the conflict that is bedeviling Africa today. And that's why we said what we are doing, because we are asking for the establishment of our capacity to be who God wanted us to be. And that means we have to recognize that we are indigenous of these places. And by so doing, the method of governance and relationship between the different nationalities must be based on joint cooperation, which is what we call federalism. And if we are able, and which was what the action group started in Nigeria, which was fought and still being fought today. So if we succeed in establishing that paradigm, that will be a beacon to other African nationalities. It will be a beacon to them in a because it's a non-violent way. We are setting up a paradigm. I mean, referendum is not something that we just created. It's been in existence probably since time. But what we are saying is that we are using that mechanism because it is not violent, it is democratic, and it actually represents the will of the people. So if it becomes the foundation for governance in Nigeria, the other peoples in the African countries will see the sense in it and embrace it. So rather than fight, they are fighting and killing themselves in Cameroon right now, based on even this issue, the so-called English speaking and the French speaking. That's not their identity. They just identify themselves based on their colonial heritage without any, they are not focusing on their nationalities, they are focusing on their colonial heritage. So you find all kinds of conflicts going on. And in the process, it is Africa that will lose out because when there is crisis, we can't even think of any form of development. And then the vultures, the imperialist colonial vultures that had withdrawn in the 1960s will come back, and they are coming back. They are even telling us to learn Chinese in Nigeria now. I don't know, maybe the next language we will learn will be Japanese. So that's why we say we are providing a template and a future and a hope for the Africa. It is not just a political tactic. It is a measure. It is a historical necessity. Let me put it that way. Because the only other option is what we are having in the rest of Africa, where we will take up arms and start fighting each other. And we know it has not worked, and it will probably not work. So Africa is in a crisis of becoming. It's in a crisis of coming into being. The African people, the black people, look at what is happening in the US also, where they are denying them voting rights in different states. And you find so-called democratic people saying, yes, that. So we are under attack all over the world. And so what we are saying is, one of the major reasons is because of the condition in Africa. And the condition in Africa is because of the maintenance of the colonial state structure. We are not saying because you can't resolve a problem by replicating it. You have to provide a solution. So if you say the Nigerian state is not good for us, the solution is not to create another independent state, because we will fall into the same issues. The solution is to transform that state into what will benefit you. And that's what we are saying. That's why we are saying the Yoruba referendum is a way, is the method to transform that state, to defeat, and decisively so, to defeat those forces that want to maintain the colonial structure in a unitarist environment, which is the general problem in Africa, and which is what we should address.
Okay.
I don't know whether I should summarize that in Yoruba, but my Yoruba is not good. But yes, thank you.
That's well captured, sir. In the course of your, explaining, you did mention about how the colonial masters obviously used the census to
Yes,
discreetly give power to
yes,
a section of the country, and
yes,
they've been using that census figure
yeah,
uh, since that time. Even when another census was carried out, it was on the template of what was on ground before. And
yes,
I take it that part of what you believe that the referendum would resolve is this issue of uh, population. How do I want to put it? Population manipulation,
oh yeah, okay,
that was manipulated to favor
okay,
that. And insofar that the population is being handled by the central government or the federal government, which obviously is benefiting from the fraudulent census figure,
yes,
then definitely no result.
yes,
We won't get any result from it. I believe that is one of the areas. And this
yes,
year, 2022, ahead of the presidential election in 2023,
yes,
the federal government is planning to hold a census in Nigeria. I know some of the elders have been calling on the federal government to ditch it until after the election because they believe that it's for the purpose of the election that wants to be carried out. But you believe strongly, and your group believes strongly, that with a referendum in place, it will be each region that will conduct their own population, and that with that, most likely or very, very likely, each region will want to present what their real census or the numbers of people within their region is.
Yes.
And also, you believe with referendum as well, when power actually move from the center into the regions, there's no point for any region faking or hiding
Fake.
more
Yes.
their population because, let's say,
Yes.
for instance, one side of the country decides to add more people. Say
Mm-hmm.
we are 100 million in our
Yes.
region.
Mm-hmm.
Then, since they are going to use their resources to cater for those 100
Yeah.
million people,
Yeah.
then the other people will not argue with them that
Yeah.
it's 100
Mm-hmm.
million.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the areas that I've also seen that with the, you also mentioned before, I'm just recapping,
Yeah.
that even when it comes to the issue about restructuring, it has always been the Southwest
Yes.
talking about restructuring.
Yes.
When there was going to be a national conference or sovereign conference, it has always been the Southwest being at the forefront to say, listen, we are not looking to take what belongs to others, but what we are saying is that what belongs to us, we want to have
You
full
remember
ownership
that?
of it.
Yeah.
And if we want to help any other region for what we have, it should be the decision of our
Our
people
own
and
determination.
not those people that need something from us coming to decide what they want to take
What we
from
want to
us.
do. Yeah.
So now connect, could you please connect that to the uh, the referendum? That's the bill that is already with the Southwest governors and speakers, I think, of all the six
Yeah.
Southwest
It's just,
states.
yes.
Uh, so I want you to reconnect those points for the purposes of those that are listening to us or
For the
that are
first.
watching, because I think what you said is what I paraphrased, but then you, as the main person talking about these things, I believe that it will be much more better. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you for that. And you honored me, God will honor you. I mean, you haven't said there's nothing, I can't say it more than how you have said it. You have presented it. You called it a summary, but is what I'm going to do is just to put in one or two, things. It is very, like you said, if a region says they have 100 million people, no one is going to, as long as it is their resources they will use to take care of them, no one is going to question them. But if they say there are 100 people so that they can have 100 people in the National Assembly to control us, that's where the problem comes from. That we are not saying you can't be anything or any number you want to be, and we can also be any number we want to be. But that number, the development of that number must be dependent on our ability to raise the resources for it. If we say we only want to tax ourselves, that every working adult in Yoruba land, regardless of your income, pay 100 naira a month as tax. And then we say, okay, we are 50 million people. And out of the 50 million, we have 30 million working adults. And we say pay 100 million. What's that mathematics? That's 300 million or something like that. So if it's out of this 500 million, we do this, do this, do this, fine. That's our own business. And if we now decide that 100 naira is not enough, but 1,000 naira would be better, We can take care of that. Now, if we now say, okay, let someone else come and do the census for us, we have said we are 50 million, and the guy now comes and says we are 25 million. Fine. But in his own area, there are 200 million. So everything that we have with our 25 million, we should take it to them with the 200 million so that they can divide it and then give us the portion that is due to us. That is what we call ojoro. I mean, that is fraud there. You reduce our population, you take our resources, you reduce our population, you increase yours, you take our resources, divide it by yourself, and then give us what you think we are worth. That's the problem. So what we are saying, I think it was under Obasanjo regime when he conducted one kind of census like that. And then the Lagos state government, I think it was under Tinubu then, also conducted its own census for Lagos. And then they discovered a big, wide disparity between what the central government says and what the Lagos government says. So, and that is the problem. And then we've had instances when Jonathan, it was Jonathan when he was campaigning for president, who came to Lagos and went to Ibadan and said that the Yoruba are a minority in those places. So the dangers that we face is that aside from apportioning, and this is a government that has already said they have 12 million or more people that can vote for a candidate from the north. I don't know how they came by the fact that the 12 million will vote for a particular candidate, but that's what they said, that the 12 million is a bank. It's an electoral bank for them. So now when these people now conduct a census, when they have said that we are a minority in our own land, they have 12 million people who can vote for their candidate. I mean, what else can one say? So you will find that not only will they say they are more than us, they will now say we don't even matter in our own land because, other people are either equal to us or more than us. So, and if you look at the trend of what is happening, among those who are championing for it are some people from the north who said they should even cancel the census. Why? Because they said the number of internally displaced people in the north. So everything depends on what is advantageous to the north. I mean, if you really want to conduct a census, what stops them from conducting census among the internally displaced people? I mean, that's a simple solution to it. But they want to make sure that the figures are so perfect for whatever agenda they have. So that's why all these shenanigans are coming out. And that's why the sense, when we mention 1952 and all that, that's how they created the House of Representatives and gave the NPC, the Northern People's Congress, a majority of the seats in the assembly that allowed them to truncate the federalist agenda. So again, earlier on I alluded to the fact that this is a historical, what we are doing or trying to do is a historical necessity, in the sense that when you combine all these things together, you will discover that unless we are able to retrieve our humanity, we stand the risk of going into extinction. And why I said that retrieving that humanity is not by repeating or replicating what is oppressing us, but finding a method to defeat what is oppressing us. When you leave the state, let's assume that even is possible, and then you run away, it's like living in a house. You are living in a house and you say there you are being oppressed in the house. You have the capacity to change the nature of that relationship. but you decide to run away from it. You leave the house for the oppressor now. You start going to build your own house. He already has an advantage over you because he already has a house. So we should not run away from history. We should simply embrace it and make it work for our, there's no mountain that cannot become a plain, So, I mean, if we defeated colonialism at the time, by whatever means, all over the continent, Europe found it impossible to maintain colonial rule for both economic and political reasons, including the contradictions in Europe itself. So they had to acquiesce, okay, go if you want to go, but we'll still be in control at the background. But we still left. So nothing is impossible. There's no mountain that cannot be turned into a plain. And all we need to do is to embrace, and I will say this, I mean, with due respect to Professor Akintoye, Baba Akintoye, he wrote a book called Coming Revolutions in Africa. What was the essence of the book? It was the national, that Africa, all the nationalities that were enclosed in these colonial contraptions. So with that, how do we now, instead of transforming that, how do we now say, okay, the solution would be, let us create our own contraptions? It doesn't flow. But I'm just saying that we all recognize it. It's just that we are saying the solution that is being offered, without being arrogant or proud, the referendum is the way out to aggregate, because it aggregates. If you start a quest for, when they say Yoruba nation answer, or you fight or something, you will still find people that will say, we are not part of it too. We are doing this and all kinds of stuff like that. If you have a referendum, even if it is just one vote that you have allowed everyone to say yes or no. If the answer is no, well, that's our own problem. If the answer is yes, we gave you the opportunity, so you can't turn around and say we are not part of it. If you don't participate, that's your own problem, because we didn't say you shouldn't participate. So what we are saying is we are laying a template. And then for the fact that we have been victims of violence for over 500 years, the worst violence that happened to anyone in humanity has been visited upon us. So we can't continue visiting the same violence on each other. We should be able to transform it and make it work for us. So that is I don't know whether I answered your question, but
You've answered it. You've answered it
yes,
very well, sir.
yeah,
We'll be heading to a short ad break just now.
okay,
And when we come back, we'll jump straight on the campaign, the grand
okay,
campaign that
okay.
the group Yoruba Referendum Committee
All
has
right.
launched. So please do stay on with us, sir.
Thank you.
Viewers, we'll be back shortly after this short ad break. Alagbafemi Odedele from Yoruba Referendum Committee will be talking to us particularly about the grand campaign that has been launched by the organization. So please do stay on with us. Thank you and welcome back. I'm still with Alagbafemi Odedele from Yoruba Referendum Committee. You are welcome back, sir. Okay, do I still have you, sir? Okay,
Yes.
yes, you are welcome back.
All right.
I will just quickly go on.
Yes.
Okay. We have what we've received from your group, and which is the topic for today, particularly. We'll be looking at other things, is the Yoruba Referendum Committee launches grand campaign. I'm going to the poster that has been sent across. I'm going to get it on now. We also have in-house people that have put a bit of creativity uh, for the purpose of presenting this to the public. So I'll bring that on, and after that, I will get the two of us back right on here.
a ní ó padà táyé ṣe o. ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o. tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé. ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. àgbà ìlú àṣòro bí èwe. ta ni ó padà táyé ṣe o. ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o. tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé. ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. àgbà ìlú àṣòro bí èwe. ta ni ó padà táyé ṣe o. ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o. tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé. ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. àgbà ìlú àṣòro bí èwe.
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir, I think I'm just getting us.
Okay.
Yes, so
All right.
we are right on here. I'm also trying to get this one here. With
ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló.
okay, I've been able to get that.
All
So,
right.
this is the 2022 Yoruba referendum, and that is what has been launched by Yoruba Referendum Committee. So now over to you, sir. I believe this is what you want to tell the people today, that a substantial step has been taken by the group
Yes.
far and above the other actions that have been taken before, like collecting a signature for petition and then sending those petitions to the Southwest governor, the 6 states, governors of the 6 states, and of course also their House speakers. So, can you talk more to us on this, sir?
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. See, what we have done is to start with Oshun and Ekiti, because the governorship elections is coming up in Oshun, I believe in June or July, or both of them, Oshun and Ekiti, June, July this year. So what we have done is to ask to make it known through these posters. These posters are going to be in Oshogbo and Ado-Ekiti, so that the campaigners, the contestants, will have to respond to it one way or the other. And the people in those 2 states initially will be able to see, okay, when we talk about Yoruba referendum, what do we mean by it? That's why we put the benefits there. And what is it saying? We are saying that Nigeria should be governed by a federal presidential council. What does that mean? Each nationality should select or elect its own candidate. What does that mean? It means the Yoruba should select our own candidate. No, like what happened in Lagos during the week, when some people went from APC to the PDP, then you find governors from all over the place coming to Lagos to endorse a particular candidate. I mean, so what we are saying is that if we look at our history, one of the major issues we have is when external forces try to dictate or try to take one side against the other. So what we are now saying by this is that only let Yoruba people decide who is to be their own representative. And Nigeria will be governed by a federal council. Or even they say we have 400 nationalities in Nigeria. Fine. Let each nationality select or elect its own candidate to that council. When they get to that council, they can then do anything they want to do among each other and elect some kind of leader among themselves as the head of state, because that council will have its own work cut out for it. So, and in the upcoming presidential election, that's what we are saying. You now find from the reports, they will say 4 governors from the north have endorsed one particular candidate in the west. 3 governors in the somewhere. So everybody is choosing for us. We are not choosing for them. And we are not even choosing for ourselves. So that's what we are saying. Let us choose for ourselves so that the person that we choose, if the person messes up, we have the mechanism and the capacity to address it, to do anything we want to do with that person. So, but when the person is chosen and is dependent on from outside forces, whether we like it or not, if he gets to power, he will have to dance to the tune of those who put him there. And then we will start all the conflicts all over again. So that is that. And that's why we said each region will choose its own representatives to the council. And then when we say parliamentary system, what does it mean? It means whoever wants to represent you in your locality does not need to campaign beyond your locality. If you want to, if we say we have a Yoruba region parliament and you are living in Osogbo, you don't need to go and campaign in Ede to be elected into. So when they say, well, all these things they call, how did they call it? Federal council and all the rest of it. We don't need it. Let the people in your, because they know you and you know them, then that will reduce money politics. Because if it is only money that you have, and the Yoruba people pride themselves, pay their omoluabi with no value of integrity and character and all the rest of it. So if money is the only thing that defines you, they can just tell you to go and sit down and make your money easily without being bribed by anybody. So that is the essence of it. And that's why we say parliamentary system for Yoruba region. And then when we say control over judiciary, police, to start that before going to the economy, what do we mean by that? Now we have Amotekun all over the place. They arrest people, but they can't prosecute them. They have to take them to the Nigeria police, who will do whatever it is they want to do. And then the judiciary, you want to appoint a judge, and then you have to go to Abuja, you have to submit the name to the center for them to pick for you. So all these things, and then the kind of, what do we mean by crime? What do we consider to be criminal offense? What do we consider to be civil offense? All these things that are jumbled up under colonial rule that are now transformed into acts of the Nigerian parliament. So these are the things we say, because when you have a judiciary that is dependent on an Omoluabi ethos, crime and punishment will be differently defined and will be very clear. And, you know, of course, when we say the police, you want to have it now, even when they talk of state police, those who are talking of state police, they are still not talking about transforming the police, because all they are saying is that the governor should be able to control the police in their states. But that's not what policing is all about. Policing is essentially about individual personal security, which is delegated to the state, which means it is not just the government in control, but the people in control of the police in terms of even recruitment and training and all the rest of that. So if in your locality you recruit your own people into your own police, hardly will you find anybody, unless a lunatic, who will shoot a member of that community because of 20 naira. Why? Because the kind of training that he or she will receive, will emphasize the humanity of the service that is providing, which is not the case, because the Nigerian police and of course the Nigerian army, they were systems created by colonial authorities to suppress the people. So what has been happening in Nigeria all over, including state police advocates and all that, is to build on that rotten foundation. So you create a police with this mentality and the psychology of being an oppressor. So the uniform itself gives the person the authority to oppress you. That is the essence of the police. So that's why we are saying control over the police, because when the people control the police, it is the express manifestation of the people that will inform on the kind of training that the police has and the kind of service that he will provide, he or she will provide. And of course, the economy, I think the Nigerian government insulted our intelligence about 2 weeks ago when they had this pyramid. They call it the rice pyramid. They are saying that we are producing rice, which is a very, to use a mild expression, is simply a childish expression of economic development. Even if you have so much rice, like what is the meaning of a rice pyramid? When people are, all those people, how many pyramids have you seen in Thailand where Nigeria is importing its rice from? Thailand, we are not talking about US. Say when all those countries that had all this massive production of rice, for example, that's just an example, massive production of rice. How many pyramids have you seen there? But because you are so backward in thinking that you think because you are one, when you had groundnut pyramids in those days, it's simply because the technology for preservation was not available by the owners, the exporters and the producers, because they are produced for export. So they needed storage to put it and take it to the train station and take it for export. So, and they were not ready to invest in warehouses and all that because there are no factories to even process them. So, because we had pyramids 60 years ago, somebody now came and say to show that we are rice, you now construct a pyramid again. So that's why I said they insulted our intelligence. So, economic philosophy plays a part in the development of our humanity. Why did I say so? When we now talk about Western region, golden era, why? When the action group was doing its own thing, they combined the economy with the education and with the culture. I'm not talking about dances and all that. I'm talking about the human culture, the element of the human culture. So when they have tiers of education, you go to school, go to modern school, go to this, go to that. You are also into technical education and all that. And then you have industries that absorb these products. And of course, you have developmental institutions. That is, in I think it's 2008, 2009, when there was economic crisis in America, the housing crash. I think it was 2007 or 8. They had this car, and then some of the banks were going to fail and create a massive disruption in the economy. That was when the Obama regime came up with this slogan, too big to fail. Too big to fail. So they injected massive funds into those banks to prevent them from failing so that the economy will not fail. Now, in the same vein, in the Western region, I'm talking about 50, 60 years before then, we are still under colonial rule, but the action group was in power. But because of the nature of their understanding of what economy is and their economic philosophy, which was based on freedom for all, life more abundant, they knew the role of developmental banking. There was the National Bank, which even the central government at that time tried to take over. And Awolowo even wrote a very beautiful defense of Akintola in preventing the takeover of the National Bank at that time, because the central government at that time saw the role that the National Bank was playing in the economic development of Western region, and they tried to disrupt it. Meanwhile, on the private sector, we had what at that time called the Agbomagbe Bank, which was a private bank, which was going to collapse. And then the government now said, this bank must not collapse to avoid, so that the private sector will not suffer unnecessary damage. So they took over the bank, bought it back, and that's what we now know today as Wema Bank. At that time, they bought it from the private owner and turned it into a development. So we had our own too big to fail 60 years before America, and the solution provided by the Awolowo was somewhat similar to what was provided. So the whole thing about economy is not just about building. What are they building now? I don't even know. They call it infrastructure. They build pyramids. Pyramids is an infrastructure, Abi. So you build pyramids, you build a train, you do that. So, but the human element, and when we say the human element, the production and reproduction of knowledge, which will inform on the development of your infrastructure, is missing. So recently, I think 2 or 3 days ago, there was a news report that Britain is looking for home health aid, nursing people who will work, nursing assistants, and they will be giving them £20,000 a year or something like that, and they will give them special visa. A few months ago, it was doctors. You find medical doctors, who qualified medical doctors lining up to receive visas to come to Britain. So you are losing out your human brains, which had been started. I think it was one of the military people that said that it is good for people, brain drain is good for Nigeria, so that they will be sending back dollars. Which is a very, something like that. So that's what is happening. So your people are going out to countries where they recognize the importance of human development, and you are living your own with pyramids. So when you now go out and you send back dollars or pounds sterling, you will still be using it to buy what is produced from the countries where you are sending them from. And those people who are at home will just say, okay, how do they get a chance to live? Because it is not what they are producing internally that is making them stay. It is because they have no opportunity to live. That's why they are still staying. So you have all this. And that's why we said control of the economy, of course, which is also linked with education. And now, we talk about the Yoruba in Kwara and Kogi State, who have been demanding to be part of their Yoruba people in the South since under colonial rule. When they had the Willings Commission about minorities, and the action group was talking about minorities, there was a provision for the Yoruba in Kwara and Kogi State to have a plebiscite to decide whether they want to be part of the Western region or not. The effort was killed by the Northern People's Congress in alliance with the NCNC, just to make sure that they destroy the action group. So what you are saying now is we have an opportunity to retrieve this mandate so that they can decide where they want to be. And the Kwara and Kogi Yoruba is also similar to the question of the others on the African continent. I said earlier, we are spread among several countries, that even within the country itself, we are being spread into different areas and now being categorized as who we are not. So these are the general benefits that we are talking about. And this, when you now combine all these things into one, then we say that is the aggregate of what the Yoruba people want, and that should also be a template for other people. There was a conflict, I think a few weeks ago, between Obasanjo and Edwin Clark about Obasanjo said the oil belongs to Nigeria. And Clark said, okay, was Nigeria in existence before the oil got there or not? So let them, and this is the Niger Delta that had been fighting. They were burning this, they were burning that. And when one of them came to power, they stopped burning and everything is settled down. So what we are now saying is, instead of just using our existential reality as a bargaining chip, we must use it to become the kind of human beings God wanted us to be. So if we say this for Yoruba land, the Niger Delta can say it for themselves. Even the East, the IPOB or whatever they call it, they want to go, they want to go. They don't need Nigeria to conduct a referendum in the East. As we are putting pressure on our own governors in our own little ways, let them put pressure on their own governments. It is not the United Nations that will come and do it for them. They don't need it. If they are that powerful, let them ask their governors to conduct a referendum for them if they want to leave, and let it be like that. If they win, fine. If they lose, fine. And then they, go to court in Abuja to declare that they must do this and that and that and that. So, well, they can. I'm not saying they shouldn't be doing that too, but I'm just saying that this thing is too serious to be left as a bargaining chip on the table. That's why I likened it with history, especially tying it up with the condition of the black people in the world and what the moment is calling on us to do. Um, I think that
Yes, thank you very much for that. That is the launch, and you've mentioned this one is hitting the ground
yeah,
ahead of the Osun and
yes,
the state
Adikiti
October
left.
election, which is taking
Yes.
place
And
this year.
eventually we are going to, because I think I spoke too much, so I couldn't put in there that we are starting with that. And since the presidential election is coming, we are going to up the ante and ask the Yoruba, whoever is going to contest as a Yoruba man, although they can say they are Nigerians, they are not Yoruba, but whoever is a Yoruba among them, whether they consider themselves Yoruba or not, is immaterial. As long as we know where they are from, we will ask them, oh yeah, where do you stand on this thing? So we are using this Osun and Ekiti as a starting point, and then we will now go, and this time it will spread across the entire Yoruba landscape. We plan to flood Yoruba land with such posters so that they can run it. The posters can run concurrently with their own poster also. So if you say you want to be governor, you want to be president, and the Yoruba people say we want this, you have to make a choice. Which one, where do you stand on it? Yes, we have to put it to them like that. And we will, of course, appreciate the support of everyone that is looking at us and listening to us, that is saying this. I believe it will be posted on the website. You can print it, distribute it among your friends also. Let them, you know, let the word go out. And let freedom ring.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll come right back to that on what people can do
Yeah,
to help, because some people have been asking that, okay, what next?
yeah,
So, and I think this is the part where they can actually contribute,
yeah,
but we'll discuss that.
yeah,
But before we discuss that, there are two videos that I'm going to play. And this is just for us. One is a human rights lawyer or constitutional lawyer talking about referendum and actually picking that why is the National Assembly, why are they scared? Why are they afraid? Of course, I know that the Yoruba Referendum Committee is not putting that responsibility on the National Assembly, which is controlled by
yeah,
the center that we're complaining about, but that each region should conduct their own referendum. But I'll play that, and of course, then we get the other one because by the time we go these two videos, then we'll come round to what can the people do. I mean, this over 10,000 people
yeah,
that have signed the petition,
yeah,
if they have the opportunity to get involved now, I think it will be a great drive. If just maybe about, let's say, 10% of that 10,000,
yeah,
if they're on ground and they could either speak to somebody or people that have other means. But we'll discuss that. Let's
Yeah.
listen to these videos.
Okay.
Trying to restructure this behemoth, this elephantine, this very unwieldy unitary federation, which passes for a federal system of government. How do we go about it? That has always been the question. And I have never underrated the role of the National Assembly. But the National Assembly, on the other hand, does not seem to understand what it ought to do. I took on frontally the Deputy Senate President, Senator Omo Agege, on this issue, penultimate Friday at the International Conference Center, where I explained on a blow-by-blow account how to bring what you call about a people's constitution after a referendum. These are words that these people are afraid of. I don't know why they are afraid of referendum or people's constitution. It was done in Eritrea, in Bangladesh, in Iran, in Iraq, in Egypt, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Singapore, in Morocco. These people, even with a government in power, were able to start a new document called the People's Constitution, which was subjected to the people in a referendum.
Okay, many thanks to Channel for that. We'll just get ourselves back. And that is the constitutional lawyer talking about the members of the National Assembly. It was seems that they are scared or fearful about the referendum. I've also heard it before, especially when we were talking about referendum, that someone said maybe the politicians are scared and co. But you've explained in the past that actually this doesn't affect them. I mean, people that want to continue to be politicians, that have career in politics, it doesn't affect them. Referendum doesn't favor one party over the other because it's not about any political party. So why are they afraid? And what do you want to tell them as the quad of Yoruba Referendum Committee on what their responsibilities are, which is actually their responsibility to the people of, I mean, when they are elected, they were elected by their people. They were not elected by Nigeria.
No.
Elected by Yoruba people.
Yeah.
Although that's split into maybe different states. So first of all, I want you to address it. Why are they scared? And secondly, maybe that maybe it's a lack of understanding of what a referendum is, although they know that the people have the power to recall them, because that's part of the power of the people that is even in the constitution that we are complaining about. So people still have people can vote and call them back. So if they are afraid, why are they afraid? And of course, from your own angle, to be able to speak to them about their responsibility and why this even pay them more than being in this jungle.
One, it is not a question of fear. They are not afraid. One, I believe at least 90% of them will know the meaning of a referendum. They will know the purpose of a referendum. They will know, a lot of these things about where it has taken place and why. They know all these things. So it's not a question of fear. It's a question of what a friend of mine will call balance of power, balance of forces. A referendum a referendum can be either a technical issue, like sometimes in some countries, they will say, let's have a referendum whether we should be selling alcohol on Sundays or not. You can hold a referendum on that and people can vote. On the other hand, a referendum could say, yes, we want to govern ourselves in the way we want, which is what we are talking about now, which is a political issue. So let's leave aside the technical use or technical utility of a referendum in asking people to make a choice on anything by any paradigm. We look at it as what is the method for the people to retrieve their political authority. So it's a political issue. So these politicians at the assemblies know or think that they know that there is no opposing political voice or force out there that can push them or force them to conduct this referendum. So they can now be woolly about it. And what does it mean? We don't even know what restructuring means. Everybody is talking about, even though when they are talking, when they are making their excuses, so you will discover that their excuse also provides the answer. So if you say we don't know what the restructuring means, and maybe we say let us conduct a referendum to see what it means. So if you don't know what it means, the referendum will tell you what it means. If we know what it means, we won't be asking for referendum. So what I'm saying is, it is not that they are afraid. It is because there's no alternative political force that will force them to do it. It is because those who are agitating for restructuring or self-determination or autonomy or anything are yet to create the necessary political force that will compel them, whether they like it or not, to do what we want. That's basically what it is. And if you remember, if you recall, what has been happening is that we always expect whoever becomes the president to come and restructure. We say, okay, so they will go and campaign. Don't worry, when I become president, I will restructure. Then they will, and then like you said earlier, I think it was Atiku that did it the last time. When he declared in the North that he wanted to be president, he didn't say anything about restructuring. But he came to Ibadan and then said, you see, when we get power, we will do this, we will do that. So they know that that is what the people want, or that is, the people want to express themselves. But because the people are not organized around what they want, every organized movement of the people is about what the president wants to do or what the president should do. And the president should restructure. And when the president gets there, he will set up a committee to do a brandakabra. They will do it and end it there. And then the next person will come. So the cycle keeps repeating itself. And what we are now saying is, let us break that cycle. That is, so it is not that they are afraid. It is because they are yet to see a sustained opposition to their stance. So if we succeed in getting Yoruba people behind our move, they will respond. If they now say they are not going to do it despite everything, okay, then we will know what to do at that point as to who are the true representatives of Yoruba people, whether it is them or it is us. So we will see where that, but let us start from that point, that we need to organize ourselves to become a force to be reckoned with. That is the missing element in all these things. We are not a force to be reckoned with. We are just, let me say, noisemakers. I'm including us among them. We are noisemakers. We are making the noise, and these are politicians who will go to organize their people and say if whether they pay them or do or whatever it is they do. We are supporters. They will wear campaign shirts and say Lagbaja is our man. No. So, and they know it, so they will just isolate us and we will be speaking. And that's why I said there's nothing we are saying that most of them don't know. They are educated people. Even if they are not sufficiently, but they know these things. They can't say they don't know it. But the missing element is that of mobility, that balance that we are yet to make the demand for referendum or self-expression or autonomy or anything a political issue that they have to respond to. And we can do it.
And you believe strongly that if the call for a Yoruba referendum, it will
Yes.
make it like a main issue
Yes,
in
main
the
issue.
competition.
Yes.
They will
They
definitely
will
go.
have to respond to it. Yes.
Okay, that's great, sir. Then we'll go quickly to the second video. I mean, this has been making rounds, and this is by a presidential aspirant, Dele Momodu, who also is a publisher, and he was
Okay.
talking about owners of Nigeria. Because I
Okay.
believe that these are, when you talk about the balance of power, where the people are actually meant to own the country, the constitution was meant to be the power of the people, the constitution of the people. But one way or the other, over time, it's been maybe some few people uh, giving things to us. And we also see some of the people that are come up in the past few weeks as aspirants. They didn't actually go to the people. They first went to those people that they consider as the
Owners of Nigeria.
they call them kingmaker or owners of Nigeria. So, so we'll come back with the question on this as relating to referendum. But let's hear Chief David Momodu.
To talk about those he described on Saturday as
the
the owners of
owners.
Nigeria.
Yes, it's very
Because I thought that this country belonged to all of us.
Yes, you see, you have to know your history. In 1998-99, me, I'm one person the people of Port Harcourt called Otoknadu. I don't just talk. Most Nigerians talk, they don't act. I act. In 1998-99, I was supporting Chief Olufalaye against Chief Obasanjo and a retired army general. I thought Chief Olufalaye, as a banker, an economist, would be able to handle Nigeria better. I then suggested to Chief that please, if you are picking your running mate, pick a cerebral northerner. And he asked me, who do I have in mind? And I mentioned Dr. Rilwan Lukman, who was at UPEC. I was 38 years old. And I spent my own resources, traveled to Vienna to meet with Dr. Rilwan Lukman, who then gave me that insight into the owners of Nigeria. He said, what have you come to do? I said, sir, we want you to be running mate to Chief Alaye. Then he laughed. Then when he calmed down, he said, Dele, thank you so much for considering me, but I can't. I said, why not? He said, because the owners of Nigeria have decided they want Obasanjo. I said, are we not going to have elections? He said, no, it's not by elections.
It never
And
was it?
you will not, and he mentioned their names. Of all the names he mentioned, only one. They've been alive. And I believe God has preserved them to today so that they will see a change in Nigeria. That's why I appealed to them last Saturday. The only person who has departed us, God bless his soul, is General Wushishi. All the others, General Obasanjo, General Salami Abubakar, General Ibrahim Babangida, Lieutenant General Ali Gusu, Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma, they're all around. And I'm sure they too must be tired of what they are seeing. So my appeal to them is very genuine, very sincere, very patriotic, that please, we know you have the power. I'm sure you heard the story, even in 2018, 2019, that PDP was almost picking my brother, Tambua. And suddenly, the owners of Nigeria intervened and said they preferred Atiku. And that's why Atiku emerged. So you have to understand, a lot of people walk on the street and go and get PVC. I was at an event in Sheraton last night, and they were talking. I said, no, it's not about getting PVC yet. It's about getting the right candidates. Let the young Nigerians fight for the two parties.
Right.
What I'm doing now is to practice what I preach.
But I'm sure you're preaching to the converted. And many of us know about the owners of Nigeria. Even though we want to act like we don't, we do.
Right, many thanks to Arise Mitch for that. So, your take on this. Chief Dele Momodu said there are owners of Nigeria, and he quoted examples. We know that in the United States, for example, we could say that a particular school or institution where maybe majority of those that became the president they come from. I think we also have it like here in the UK as well, where uh, from that school, not all the prime ministers, but majority of them, for some reason they found out that they must have attended a particular school, which I think is a Ivy League school. So, but when it comes to that of Nigeria, it seems to be the other way around. There are people that we have, maybe, well, maybe they've been in the military, and although they no longer in the military, they now wearing agbada, but then they seems to be the one controlling what happens in the country. I will quickly cite an example as well. I remember that the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, has vied for the presidency almost about 3 times, and he was tired. That was it. And I remember very well that during the previous trials, he did not go to see some people that are considered to be owners of Nigeria. But the last one, he actually went to meet them, and then he became the president. So, owners of Nigeria, I know you've mentioned that with a referendum, we can wrest power from those people because it's not that they own Nigeria. The only thing is that they've taken advantage of the docility of the people.
Okay, go ahead.
So I want you to speak on what Chidele Mamadou has said, and in reference to the referendum, especially regional referendum, where it's not the center conducting the referendum, the impact of it on these claimed owners of Nigeria.
Oh yeah. Oh well, thank you. I first of all I appreciate the lady on the panel for her comment, saying that they know who the owners are. It's not preaching to the question is not about owners of Nigeria. Dele Momodu actually stated the problem, even though it appeared that as if he was analyzing. You see, the problem is there is a laid down procedure by the so-called owners of Nigeria. As long as you remain within the parameters of that procedure, you are bound to do what they want. So they set the rules. That's why they call them owners of Nigeria, in quote. They set the rules. They say, okay, there must be election every 4 years. You know, when they had their constitution and all that, it was the same owners that manipulated everything in 1978, in 1995, and now. So they know, they set the rules, and then they expect everyone to abide by those rules. Okay, whoever says the rules expects people to abide by it. So if you now say you want to be president, but you don't want to abide by their rules, you must either create your own rules or overthrow their own rules. There's no two way about it. As long as you want to operate within their rules, it is their own outcome that will prevail. That's why Momodu is saying, take over the two parties, look for candidates. If you look for candidates, even he himself, he will still have to go to the owners and say, okay, what do you want me? What do you expect from me? They can tell him, do this, do this, do this. Do you agree? If he says no, they say, go and sit down. You can't be a president. And he will go and sit down. Or if he says, just tell me what to do, I'm ready to do it. They will say, okay, fine, we'll put you there. And he will agree. And then he will come out and say he's a democratically elected president. So the question is not about owners. The question is about, let me borrow a word from them, about the owned. In 1998, that he was talking about, when we had the Yoruba Summit at the Premier Hotel in Ibadan, August 7, 1998. And you had all the big wigs in Yoruba land, the Bola Ige, Baba Adesanya, everybody. Everybody was there. And the question came to, should they participate in the then Abubakar transition with or without conditions? And the Chief Bola Gates and all the rest are saying, yeah, let us get there first. Let us participate, get there first, and then we can do whatever we want to do. I still remember it. There's this guy from Ondo State, from Ondo. He's dead now. He's High Chief, what's his name now? Bayo Akinola. He was a high chief in Ondo State. I think he was also chairman of WAPCO or something like that before he died. He was a high-ranking chief in Ondo. He walked up to the stage, took the microphone away from Bola Ige, and said, no, you cannot do that. That you cannot participate in an election that you have no idea what the Constitution says. That you must set your own conditions. You must set your own parameters. And he insisted that that must be done. But you know, the way people behave, they just dabaru everything and said, okay, let us go and do this. Now, why did I say that? At that point, Nigeria was, our own expression is that the Yoruba held Nigeria by the jugular at that time. Because of the June 12th and all the rest, there's nothing that could have happened in Nigeria without the Yoruba saying, acquiescing, saying, yeah, go ahead. So if they had insisted at that time that, no, we are not going anywhere until this and this and this, set their own conditions, they didn't do it. So the owners were powerless at that time because they owned all through June 12th, made it impossible for them to remain powerful. But unfortunately for the owned, the leadership did not live up to its expectation. And so they just went into it. And if you remember, AD was not even supposed to be registered based on their conditions because it only won the local government elections in the West. But they had to register AD just to pacify the West. Now imagine if they had insisted, no election, no, until this and this and this and this. We'll be talking about a different thing now. But, that's a lesson to be learned. So when someone now says, like Dele Momodu is saying, I'm not saying he shouldn't contest, let the youth take over, and even the example he gave, you see, he has already acquiesced, and talking about youth and stuff. You went to Falai to say PK Northerner, and then you went to the Northerner, and the Northerner told you there is a owner somewhere, and then you ended it like that. So what we are saying is that the question is not even, I'm not saying he shouldn't contest, and I'm not criticizing him. I'm just saying, yes, if the owners exist, they exist. We, the owned, in quotes, it was like the slaves in Rome at that time, the gladiators. When they asked them to go and fight at the Coliseum, they will say, yes, we slaves, we are ready to die, or something like that. There's a film along that line, Spartacus, the slave owner the slave who led a rebellion. So the question is not about the owners of Nigeria. That is part of the psychology that is being used to keep us down. Yes, we don't say they don't exist. All the names that are mentioned, including those that are not mentioned, that are hiding at the back. When Hassan Usman Katsina, who was the de facto leader of the North after the death of Ahmadu Bello, when he was going to die, he asked for who is going to succeed him. They picked one man that you probably have heard his name before, Colonel Sonny Bello, who was the governor of Kano State at that time. Sonny Bello was the leader, but nobody is talking about him. But we know he's the real leader of the North at that time. Sonny Bello, he was a military governor of one of the states at that point, at some point. So what we are saying is it is not their existence. Of course, if they don't exist, we will not be talking about what we are talking about now. If there's no oppression, we will not be talking about freedom. It is because oppression exists. That is why we are talking about freedom or liberation or restructuring or autonomy. Yes. So we know they exist. What we are saying is, how do we get ourselves away from their oppression? And that is why we are saying it is not a question of acquiescing to, well, let them go and pick anybody from Mars or from Jupiter for self. Maybe one spaceship went to Jupiter, or maybe the one that went to the sun self. Okay, let them pick anybody from there. What we are saying is, how are we mobilized to retain, retake and retain what belongs to us, our natural right of expression, which does not depend on the ownership by anybody. That is the key, and that is what, unfortunately, most of the youth are not even addressing. That they think that it is by, a young person is only the qualification. That is, even if a young person is ignorant of his own history or the necessity of the time. That's why I like the response by the lady on the panel, who said, look, what you are saying, we all know it. So, I mean, it's nothing new. And it is true, it's nothing new. What is happening is that we are deficient in setting up an alternative response. And once our eyes are clear on that, we'll be able to look at our limitations, look at the obstacles that are facing us, and based on that, be able to craft a way out. The way out is not by assuming that they are so powerful they can't be defeated. Otherwise, June 12th will not have reached where it did. Yes, he was part of it. Everybody did their own bit and everybody. But the point is, if they had not started somewhere by rejecting the annulment by whatever means, they won't be talking about what they are talking about. So my appeal to the youth is to not to simply rely on their youth, because youth by itself is nothing. It's not a youth is not a, it's a demographic. It's not a political power. A political power is based, or political strength is based on the ability to aggregate the contradictions around you and turn it into something useful. Awolowo was a youth why did he find Egbe Omododoa? He was in the youth movement and all that. Then he said, look, that's not the way. We must do something else. So what he did, something else, was a reflection of the contradictions in the colonial movement that allowed him to create Egbe Omododoa and then the action group. But now what we are hearing is youth must get there, youth must get there. And the youth are not even addressing, they don't even know what the contradiction is. So how can they resolve it? Youth by itself is not political strength. It is a youth that is able to relate with the social contradictions of the time and turn it into a position of strength. That's what we need, not just a youth that will run for president. I mean, you can run for president as a tactic, but that's not the end of it. So, how do I conclude this? I mean,
So it's basically like people, whether we have the owners of Nigeria who have been making decisions, it's really what we do now that will make the changes. That having people taking like authority in any space is not abnormal,
no,
or is actually what the people that are under them, what they do in order to balance the powers.
Yeah.
We look at, for instance, the anti-slave movement in the United States. The slaves rose up and they start to demand for their freedom.
Yeah.
Now, before then, before the sort of Martin Luther King
Mm-hmm.
who was obviously assassinated at the end of the day, but has already made its mark, there were people who started it, maybe generations and generations before it gets to him,
Yeah.
and then some other people followed after him until eventually they were able to get uh, freedom. And we see that that's the same thing during the Greek or
Mm-hmm.
Greece power. That's
Mm-hmm.
the same thing that happens. And even if we look into our own history as
Mm-hmm.
Yoruba, we have seen, I mean, we can talk about Bashonoga era, where
Mm-hmm.
the people revolted because they just find out that no, the elders, those people that are meant to be taking care of us, they are not. So, and the people revolted, and then there was a change. And like you said, Yoruba Referendum Committee is not calling for violence.
Mm-hmm.
And we've known that even in the Yoruba agitation and liberation we are talking about, there are many people that have stood up to fight. I mean, we can talk about Baba Abraham Adesanya, a whole lot of them,
Yeah.
Sulia Adedeji,
Yeah. Láti
uh,
Láyé Balógun.
Lai
Láyé
Bafo,
Balógun and all of
from Kuti,
yeah.
whole lots of people, some were incarcerated, some were killed.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Kujorat,
Yeah.
and even Abiola himself, and also there have been people that have been coming up. But then the 1993 annulment was became a bone in the
Mm-hmm.
neck of whoever they claim that they say they own Nigeria, because they had to, at the end of the day, there's sort of a shift and a sort of negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
Although you've mentioned that maybe the Yoruba leaders then or elders, they didn't take full advantage
Mm-hmm.
of the transition
Yeah.
from Abdul Salam right to the next government. But during the 1990, after the 1993 annulment, there was a clear signal sent out to who those people are that it's not business as
As
usual.
usual. Yeah.
So now we not waiting until another person is killed. Obviously, we have, uh, I mean, we've had things happening in place for some time. With Baba Akitoye, for example, did
Yeah.
mention that time that the assassins were after him.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what happened to Sunday Igboho and
Mm-hmm.
the assault on his place. And we see quite lots of things happening. But now we've seen a path
Yeah.
that is a political route to resolving or finding a solution. I mean, for us to even take a first step into getting our way back, a sort of a sort of a direction where a signal is going, first of all, to our own representatives, the governors. I mean, they are with us, the members of the State
The
House of Assembly. Let's
citizen.
even say those in the National Assembly, they run away to stay in
Mm-hmm.
Abuja, and they
Mm-hmm.
only come maybe during Christmas and Easter.
Yeah.
But the ones that are in the State Houses of Assembly, they live with us. They live within the community, and that those are the first people that we need to let to send the first signal to, that listen, it's no longer business as usual. We want to have a referendum. We as a people, we want to say what we want. And then when we finish saying it, then you will carry it to those people at the center to say this is what our people want. And we can't go back home if we don't get an answer for it. Now, let's get back to the last part of the referendum itself. That is the
The
campaign,
actual one.
which has hit the ground now. And this is, what do people need to do? I'll bring that up. So that's right on there now. 2022 Yoruba referendum to federate and constitute Ekiti, Ondo, Osun, Oyo, Ogun, and Lagos State into Yoruba region in a federal Nigeria. that will be similar to what we had during the Western region, and that is an era that we continue to point to when we're talking about progress and achievement in Yoruba land. Now, you've mentioned what the benefits are, which are clearly stated in um, in the poster, but we said we're going to come around to talk about what do people need to do at this time. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, it's very simple. You know, on the posters we have those who have the power and the ability to bring it into fruition. That's the speakers of the various houses of assembly. We have their photographs there, and then we have the governors. That's why we said, you know, sign the petition. I will come back to that. This petition is on and harassment. So tell your governors and house speakers to pass the referendum bill into law. And that's politicians to endorse the Yoruba referendum bill. Okay, so we have over 10,000 signatories on the petition. And we are now asking people to tell their government. There are many ways we can tell the governors and the house speakers to pass this into law. One, we can write them, text them, phone them, talk to them one-on-one if we have access to them. But most importantly, now this may be a little bit controversial, but let us consider it. You know, when they were having the Yoruba Nation Now rallies all over the place, just imagine that there is a rally in the State House of Assembly where everybody will go and camp. They don't need to be running around the town. Everybody should converge at the State House of Assembly with the petition and the bill. Oh, yeah, these people, you must act on this thing. Now they can they can ask the police to come and disperse them. I mean, they can do that. They can arrest some of them. I hope not. I mean, people should take care of themselves. But the point is this: even if they ask the police to come and disperse them, or even if the police acts on its own initiative with their oga on top and give them directives to disperse them, and the assemblymen now hide behind that, saying, we didn't see you because we didn't ask the police to come, but they came and you are dispersed. The point is, now you know what we want you to do. Do it so that we don't need to come and camp there again. So the police will have no job to do to disperse us. So that's why I said it may be. So let's consider that for a moment and see the impact that it will make. Number one, even in a democratic setting, they can't prevent us from going to see our legislators. Now, if we say we should go to the governors will say they will pass it to the House of Assembly, that they haven't sent any bill to them. And then they will say you are causing a breach of this and that, and then they will start hiding behind all sorts of security. But the House of Assembly is supposed to be the house of representing those who are representing us. So natural right to go there and demand that thing. So that's why I said let us consider that for a moment. That instead of holding rallies all over the place, let us pick a date. Even, I mean, the 10,000 people that have signed, I mean, they may be spread all over the world and stuff like that. And even if it's just 500 of us are in Ibadan or Osogbo or Ado-Ekiti, we converge at the State House of Assembly with just the petition and the bill and the poster and say, okay, what do you want? We want you to do this. Let's, the speaker will address them if he wants to, or he might not. But somebody will be there to say, okay, I've heard your cries. What is your petition? This is our petition. Do it. Okay, I will give it to them. I will pass it on to them. That's what all we want. So if we can do that as a first step, I'm not saying that's the only thing, no, Because if we say, okay, we have submitted this thing formally, and we expect an answer within the next month, yes or no, within the next week or two. If you don't, we can come and set up camp on your ground and stay there until you sign it. We are not yet talking about the results, because the result can go anywhere. All we are saying is sign it into law and conduct it. And of course, by doing that, we know the Attorney General will come and start all his legal crap. And then, we will respond to that. And the Assembly will also, everybody will respond to it. So, then they can seal up the entire Assembly and say nobody should come in there except the legislators. Then we tell the legislators, if they seal up the place, don't go there, stay in your house. Let us meet under the mango tree. It has been done before. They impeach governors under the mango tree. So we can do that. Even in America, when an assembly wants to mess up, I think it was in Texas, all the Democrats left the state so that they won't use their votes to pass a bill that is against democratic interest. They left the state and went somewhere else. So it is not strange. So if the police seal off the place, don't go to the assembly. We can meet under the mango tree. We can go to the house of the Oba in the town and say, okay, where you will now come and arrest the Oba. Well, they can do that, but So what I'm saying is, let us give it a thought that once this these posters come out and people see it and we see it, then the next thing, sign the petition. We still continue to sign the petition, but let us consider a time when we will converge at the State House of Assembly. Maybe one, maybe two, maybe all the 6 of them at the same time. Let us work towards that and, make it a point of duty to give it. This is what we want to. If necessary, we will come and camp on the grounds of this assembly until you do it. But let's make it happen. So it can be in stages. So we don't need to be going about, all the rallies and stuff. It will be concentrated. And because we are not asking for anything except our right to vote. But like I said, that is from our own side. The opposing side, the so-called owners of Nigeria, can now decide to use force, use maximum force, and say, declare whatever it is. But, I think there is a saying in science, or is it physics, that says action and reaction are equal and opposite, or an action begets another reaction. So we will respond as things develop. So don't let us preempt what will happen. Don't let us assume that our fears will materialize, because we may be having the fears and it may not materialize. At the same time, our hope is not just in human. We are human beings, but we are also spiritual beings. That now I have to be a little bit cautious on that. That regardless of your faith or anything like that, the moment you start acting in the image that God created you, which is to have dominion over everything that has been created. That is our image. That is how God created us. And if somebody is saying we cannot have that dominion, our God will also fight for us. So let's leave that aside and do what we need to do. That they may own Nigeria. They don't own us, although I use the word own though, because they don't own where God created us to be. If we are going to give part of it out, it will be our own decision. And that's what the referendum is all about. Let us determine how we relate with other people in Nigeria or in Africa. It's as simple as that. So let us give it a consideration. I'm not yet saying tomorrow, let us converge at the Bolage house in Oshogbo or anywhere. I'm just saying, let us begin to think about it and see how we can make it happen. so that we will be able to aggregate our actions. And then anyone who wants to contest for the presidency or the governorship, we have to say something about it. Yeah, like we said, they have the right to say no, fine. They have the right to say yes. We are not compelling them to take either. What we are asking is just state the position, no prevarication. Don't tell us that when you get to power, you will consider it, because power is already in your hands to do it. For now, APC is the majority in the houses of assembly in the West. So nobody can come and say, wait, when I become president, I will. No, the APC is already there. The assemblymen, they are already there. Nobody will come and say, when I become governor, I will initiate it. You don't need to become governor before you support it, because the elements and the tools are there already. All you need to do is to activate it. And that's what we're asking for. So if you can't activate it now, then we are considering you to be, that's a different matter entirely. But let's start thinking about these things and see how it can be brought to fruition. And that way, we'll be able to, say, accelerate, increase, deepen my, just things like that. But these are things we need to think about. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I believe that people are clearly seeing that. And of course, from the the page where the signatures for the petition are going
Yeah,
on,
it's there.
we currently have that's about, let me try
Yeah,
to,
about almost 11,000. Yeah.
yeah, so we have almost 11,000. So
Yes.
if you are yet to sign, please, you've got that link right on there. Please do sign. And many thanks for those that have signed. I'll still get the quote to speak to you on that. But for those people that are yet to sign, or even people that have signed, please share it to others. And remember that the poster, and that's what the information we have at the moment, that this you will soon see these in Osun and Ekiti
It is. Yes.
in the next few weeks. And
Days. In the next few days.
in the next few days.
Probably 2 or 3 days. Yes.
Okay. And obviously, this is the one you are seeing now is in English. There's also a Yoruba version so that we can get it to everybody. And remember that this is not about supporting any political party. It does not take a position away from any rep. But what we're saying, and which is the right of each individual, of course, in the entire Nigeria, but then the concentration now is towards Yoruba. Yoruba has always, so to say, been on that path. People should remember that during the Western region, there were some policies that were done then that the other part of the country said, no, this is not possible. But the Western region was able to get those running, and which are things we're talking about, WNTV, which eventually was nationalized, and then that's what you have as current NTA today. You have the Cocoa House, you have the stadium, and we're still referring to them up till today. So the concentration is on Yoruba. That if Yoruba could get what we believe uh, pertains to our people and what we can manage within the resources of Yoruba land. Because let's say, for instance, if the referendum is going to go ahead, we already have the governors as they appoint do they call them INEC or state neck or something?
State neck or whatever. Yeah,
I think state neck. So
yeah.
the governors they already have authority in that area, and they are all already resources that they can use. So they really don't need to go to the federal to go and beg for money or paper to conduct the referendum. So the referendum committee is pushing for what is manageable, what is in the capacity of the governors and the members of the State House of Assembly in Yoruba land, and what they have resources to 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 uh, to do. So please put your support in there. And if there's any question at all, please you can reach out to Alagbafemi or Dediji and the group. I think there's an email right on here. I've got it somewhere. Yes, that's it. That is yorubaref@gmail.com. For those people that might want to get involved as well, I think there's also uh, a phone number on the on the poster. I'll get that. Okay, there's a number.
Yeah.
There's a phone number on that. So I think I missed that again just shortly. So I
Yeah.
think it's somewhere around there. Yes.
Yeah.
So you have the phone number there. You can call the phone number or send an email, and somebody will get right back to you. Remember, what we're talking about today is that yes, we have owners of Nigeria that have been deciding what happens, and we can see that 2023 has started in earnest. But there has to be a sort of a push from those who own it. If you have the owners of Nigeria, that means they own something. And then, like Alagba Femi said, that even slaves in those days, they fought for their freedom. So we can't be docile. We can't be saying that, yes, we know they are owners of Nigeria, so we don't care to vote, we don't care to query our representatives. The more we do that, the more they will continue to exert authority over us. So we just read at the tail end of the session for today. And over to you, Alagba Femi Odediji. We've seen those almost 11,000 that have signed
Yes.
that petition. I believe you have the work for them.
Yes.
You may also have a word to round up the launch of the grant campaign, and maybe there might be one or two other things we want to tell the people about the progress or the next step. Because in Yoruba land, we will say, Otoku.
Oh,
So, there might be other things that you might want to
thank you for today. Like we have said, the posters are going to be out, 1-2 days from now. Everything is ready to be pasted all over, especially in Oshun, that is Oshogbo and Ado Ekiti. And there are further plans to, expand it to the rest of Yoruba land. So I will say for those of you who have signed the petition, of course, we thank you, and it's always a source of encouragement and strength. And then we expect other people to also continue to sign and share the petition. Now, taking it a step further is also our joint responsibility, like I alluded to the other time. 10,000 of us have signed the petition. So the question for the 10,000 plus or the almost 11,000, the question is for all of us. Where do we go from here? And that's why earlier on I said we can consider it that the 10,000 of us, if we are not even in a particular location and we are scattered, from the 10,000, we can garner a minimum of 1,000 among us and physically visit, I don't want to use the word rally, pick a date and, go to one of the state houses of assembly, either in Ado-Ekiti or Osogbo or Ibadan or Lagos. But because of the coming elections in Osogbo, and then, make a physical presentation. We have submitted it to them. We have sent it to them. They have acknowledged it. They acknowledge receipt of it. So that will push it a step further. So if you are not in Nigeria, but you know people in Nigeria, let us start a discussion around that. That instead of parading the town and all these things, let us find a way to congregate at a particular house of assembly with this demand, and only this demand. We want you to pass this thing into law. That is what I will see as the responsibility of those of us who have signed, and even those who have not signed, but who are listening to us and who can do one or two things along the line. So this thing can be organized. We are ready to play a part in terms of, So, like I said, we will expect some kind of response. They can block the place, they can send their army, they can send their police, and all. We are not going to fight anybody. But the point is this, and I want us to think hard about it so that when the process starts, everybody will be clear as to where we are going and the outcome that we expect and what we can do about it. So, worst case scenario, they block the place or they go there and start harassing everybody and all that and all that and all that. No problem. The point is, we have elicited a response from them. Their response is to suppress us, but that response is also our weapon, because our target, our aim is to convince our legislators to pass the bill. And if the central government is preventing them, they will not be preventing us. So they will be, the appearance is they are preventing us from going there. But the reality is that they are preventing them from doing their job. So it changes the political narrative. And that is the essence of political struggle for power. We have to be able to change the political narrative. And if it comes to that and the assemblymen say, the police are not allowed, okay, we don't need to come to you. Maybe you know what day we are coming from. We are going to do it. Let them say they can't do it. Then we know where we are going, that the fault is not in the police. The fault is not in the central government. The fault is in the representatives, our assemblymen. And that gives us the opportunity to expand. I hope it doesn't get there, to expand whatever it is we want to do. But one ibi kekere, ibi pẹlẹbẹ láti mọ́lẹ̀ jẹ. So let's start from the ibi pẹlẹbẹ and see where it gets us. So my advice is, yes, let's give it a thought for now. Let it percolate, because I don't want us to fall into an assumption that, here's another thing, let's go there, we do there, and then the police come and then start harassing everybody and arresting people and all that, and then we now have to start looking for lawyers to go and bail them out, and then we start talking. No, we are not. We have gone beyond that stage. No, when I say gone beyond that stage, this thing has been a recurring decimal in what the owners of Nigeria do. And there are times we keep telling some of our people that you don't need to get arrested. They are just messing you up. There are many ways you can do this thing without getting arrested. So why do you allow yourself to become a pawn in their hands, because that's what it will end up with. So let us think about it. Let us go over the pros and cons. There may be some pros and cons that I haven't mentioned that is in the minds of some other people. So think about it, discuss it, share it. You can send an email or contact our hosts and say, okay, if we do this, what will happen? Blah, 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 and stuff like that. So we don't get sucked into their own agenda. And then we can find a way to work around, do what we need to do. And because the most important thing about power struggle is your ability to set your own agenda. That's the most important thing. Once you set your own agenda, other agendas must respond to it. But the moment you start reacting to the agenda of others, then you have lost the war. And that's what we want to prevent and avoid. So let's think about it. That's a charge. That's the charge I will give to those who have signed, and to those who have not signed, and to those who are watching us. And so it's a collective thing. We know where we are going, and then that also shows our capacity and capability to reason things out, and not just to act on the whim, just like that. We've had enough experience of that, and we should be able to go beyond that. And then, who knows? Maybe somebody will make an announcement. Yoruba people assemble at Oyo State House of Assembly tomorrow, or Osun State House of Assembly. I'm not saying it is going to get to that point, but let's focus on who. They are not our enemies. So the assembly people and the governors, regardless of their party affiliation, they are not our enemies. All we are saying is we want to put pressure on them to do what we want. So we are not treating them as enemies. We are not treating them as opponents. We are simply saying, you have the power to do this thing. Utilize your power to do it. And for us to do that, we need to be organized so that they will know where we are coming from. And then jointly, that is the assembly and us, the people, will be able to face any external threats that is coming. Like I said, if the police can go and disperse it without the knowledge of the assemblymen and claim that their oga at the top gave them an order and they will obey it. So let us keep that at the back of our mind, that the police can act on its own orders from either Malami or Inspector General of Police. Let's keep that in mind. But that will not be a hindrance to what we can do. So that, we have the brains and we have the bronze. So let us combine both. And then the victory is assured. Like I said, there's no mountain that cannot become a plain. That's a very simple thing. Yes. You can't turn Everest into a plain. No. I'm not saying let us go to Mount Everest. I'm just using it as a metaphor. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming right on the program with us. And of course, we will be expecting you in another 2 weeks.
Thank you.
We also like to have probably some resources on grant once the activities have started, so we can keep our viewers abreast of what is happening. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your coming on the program.
Thank you, and thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.
See you soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Ó padà táyé ṣe o. Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o? Tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé? Ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. Àgbà ìlú àṣòro bí èwe. Ta ni ó padà táyé ṣe o? Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o? Tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé? Ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe. àgbà ìlú àṣòro yéwé. Ta ni yóò padà táyé ṣe o? Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà ìlú kí ló dé o? Tẹ́bí ń ṣòro bí èwe kí ló dé? Ẹ̀yin ṣe èèyàn bí ọkà èyí ti ṣe àgbà ìlú àṣòro yéwé.
Right, thank you very much for joining us. Remember, we are right on here on Saturdays at 3 p.m. and of course on Sundays at 6 p.m. all in UK time. And until then, you stay safe, and of course the COVID restriction, most of it have been will be lifted. The Prime Minister has announced this, and also the Scotland's First Minister has also announced that from Monday, most of the COVID restriction will be lifted. The one for England is from Thursday. But still yet, we are asked to take caution to ensure that we keep ourselves safe. Until next Saturday, this is me signing out, and we will see you.